Well, this evening's class, we're going to start seated on a block, and I've got a strap as well because we're going to be doing some work with our shoulders, and you need a bit of space to be able to put your arms out sort of that wide as well. We'll start by just taking a nice easy position, seated comfortably. You don't have to be cross-legged. If sitting on your knees and heels is more comfortable, that's fine. And we're just going to start to neck roll. So I'm going to let the chin come in towards the chest. Feel the muscles on the back of the neck, the shoulders start to stretch out a little bit. You can take the opportunity to slow the breath down and relax the shoulders and sit up as upright as I can. And here I'll begin to roll the chin very slowly towards the left shoulder or right, you choose. And then once my eyes meet the corner where the wall and the floor reach, I'll start to look up the wall very gently towards the ceiling, and then let the eyes follow across the ceiling. Get a very gentle turn in the neck, across the other wall. Just see down that wall, strangely enough, towards the floor. Catch a view of the shoulder at the corner of my eye. Now the chin to gently come back to the center. And from there, simply roll it back out, go in the opposite direction, about the same speed. Try not to let the head hang back too far. I want to keep this nice and free and uncongested. If you let your head drop completely back, you'll just sort of crush into the arteries, veins, nerve, discs, the stuff that you don't really want to be squeezing too much. Let the chin lift, and then I'm going to move into butterfly pose. So we'll take the feet a sort of comfortable distance out in front. They don't have to be right into the heel. And I'll take hold of the ankle. I'm going to take a little breath. I'm going to let the pelvis roll back a little bit so the spine starts to round, but it's generally caused by the spine moving towards the back of the mat. Then I carefully let the chin drop in. And with that roundness, allow the spine to drop in. So don't come down like a full forward seated bend. It's just a gentle stretch. Hopefully getting a bit more of a stretch into the back of the neck, shoulders. Yeah, and hopefully gravity did the rest for us in terms of letting the knees drop down. The last breath, draw the belly in, and I almost found to trying to lift up slowly, and then let the head follow, always coming from the base to the top. We'll move off gently from that block, move it out to the side a little bit, and laying down onto my chest, lifting the legs out, and my way down. And once I arrive, you can chin down to the floor, take your arms out about chest level. Allow the left hand to come in. Going to roll over gently towards the right side, letting the head hang down. At this point, the hips are stacked. We're going to slide the top foot along the leg and then place it to the floor just behind the knee joint of the lower leg. And allow the knee to point towards the sky. Just slide gently the bottom leg out to the corner edge of the mat ahead of me. So without even moving the head out of the corner of my eyes, I can see my foot quite clearly and my big toe. Getting quite a nice stretch into the shoulder and the chest, which is primarily what I'm interested in, and getting a little bit of an excitement in terms of stretching out that hip, knee towards the sky. I often find that I get a little bit of cramp in the hip and around those areas on the top leg. We're just going to see if we can breathe gently through that. Obviously, if there's any sharp pains in these poses, you want to move out. And ideally, you come into the pose and just allow yourself to sit. But if you do need to move around, feel free to adjust and adapt the poses, but just do everything slowly. If you need to move your head, for instance, you would be very careful lifting that off the ground. I'm going to slide the bottom leg back until that leg touches the foot, and I can lift it up, slide it along the leg, roll gently onto the chest. Now, if there's any tingling in the arm or the shoulder, funny feelings, allow those to drop away before you move the arm. Then when you're ready, we'll take the other hand out to the other side. Feet are together, so as you roll over, the legs are stacked on top. And that top leg slides in, just placing the foot directly behind the knee joint, foot flat to the floor, knee as high as you can. Carefully slide bottom leg out so your toes feel the edge of the mat. And then relax. Ideally, that top knee is moving behind you, with the foot staying where it was. The idea is that the hips haven't rolled back a little bit. You might start to get encouraged with that, and then hopefully the chest will follow. So you're just using it as a way, a mechanism really, of bringing the shoulder fully into the pose as we can. But really what we're trying to do is get that right shoulder to move from the top behind us over to the left and down to the floor. That's not going to go there. Rather alarming if it did. It's in that direction. I'm going to slide the bottom leg back in till my leg touches my foot, and I know where it is. An easy lift then. A gentle roll back. Wait for the tingles to go away. And then from there, we'll lift up carefully onto our elbows. I'm going to take a little breath from there, hands down into the floor. We're going to see if we can lift off the ground just a little bit. Doesn't have to be a lot. Our hands are on the floor, elbows lifted from the ground. And I'm going to take the left hand out 90 degrees to the body, and then walk the right hand out slowly. Keeping the chest square to the ground, so not rolling onto the side too much. Purposely roll flat to the ground. The arm is pressed across the chest. And then we'll take right arm. Out to the other side. I just realized I was going to sit on top of the microphone. And you probably then need to be able to hear me say come back up eventually. Now you want enough space that your chin can just rest on your arms. You can relax the back of your neck, your shoulders, and let yourself melt. You want to try and have the hands in line with the shoulders rather than the shoulders having risen up around the ears. So you're very hunched there. So you want to be quite sort of relaxed and I wouldn't say drawing them down towards your tailbone, but neither are they hunched up around your ears. They're somewhere in that middle ground. And come out of those. You actually press hips and the thighs into the floor. Draw the belly in. Use your back muscles to lift the shoulders up a little from the ground to make enough space to walk the right hand back out. Walk it in towards you a little bit. You can get that pressed down without damaging your shoulder. And then when you're ready, you'll take it to the opposite side. Again, we come very flat. We walk around. Move the microphone out of the way. And then we drop it in. Obviously, this is a very bad time to realize you've got an itchy nose, as you will be here for a couple of minutes. Begin to lift up again, so belly in, press the thighs down. Gradually lift with the back muscle. Allow yourself to untangle your arms. I'm going to bring the hands a little more to the bottom of the ribs and the chest lifted. And when you're ready, we'll just press into the hands gently, lifting ourselves up onto all fours. Now you will need the block and you will need the strap. So we're going to take ourselves into hero's pose. Do that. Knees together, feet out wide, either side of the hip bone, sitting back gently. It should feel like a decent stretch in the knees. The calf muscles are going to be very tight to start with, as will the thighs and the ankles. They probably feel like they're doing a lot of work with toes pointing back because it's a big stretch for those ligaments. And that's what we're looking for. We're going to take the strap and unravel that. And you're going to take the strap and put the D-ring or the nestle clamp, whatever you've got, the hard bit, into my left hand and just bind that strap around the fist a couple of times. I'll let that arm come up and then deliberately with my right hand just take the strap behind me. I want to, just for a little while, press the left hand up and press the right hand down so I'm getting a little bit of tension in the strap. Just for about half a minute. And then I'm going to bend the elbow of the top arm and let the hand come in between the shoulder blades behind me and use the upper hand to walk up the strap to see if I can get my fingers anywhere close to each other. Now, if you can just take hold of the fingers and use that finger lock, or you can use the strap. You don't want to be pushing yourself so hard that, yeah, I've got my fingers to touch, but I can't breathe, or my head's jammed down, or it just burns like crazy. Because what I want to try and do is actually get the hands as close together as I can, and then encourage the elbow to move towards the back of the mat behind me. Now, if they're all jammed up, they're not going to go anywhere. So there's kind of a delicate area between the white and the black of that grey midsection that we want to be in, somewhere where we can breathe easy, but still feel like we can move the elbows towards the mat behind us. We're just letting the shoulders open up a little bit more. Encourage them that way. Now, we won't stay here too long in the arm pose. We will stay on the knees for a lot longer. So you do want to make sure your knees are comfortable. So after this first side, if you feel that you need to adjust, that's a good time to do it. Okay, you're going to let that release gently and unravel the strap, wriggle through the shoulders, and then we'll move the D-ring into the opposite hand, so going into the right. That hand goes high, and the opposite hand goes back. Press up and down through the appropriate arm. I'm just looking for some sort of work in the muscles. So the strap doesn't have to be right against the back, doesn't have to be completely vertical or aligned to the spine or anything complicated. It's just holding it up in the air. You're going to take a breath there. Allow the top elbow to bend. Get the opposite hand and feed that up. and see where we get to. I can almost touch my fingers on the first side, but have a gap big enough to drive a bus through on the other side. I've been practicing yoga for about 20 years, and it really hasn't changed. This is my normal. So if you're wondering whether your hands should be able to touch on both sides and why can't they, just accept that they don't. Let yourself be happy that you've got two shoulders that you can even move. And remember, we're trying to press or encourage to let the elbows move out behind us. Yeah, and then we can release from there as well. We can move the strap out to the side for now and use it another day. We'll just take a moment to let the shoulders just find their own natural place, relaxing. Hands getting on the thigh, breathing easy. And let the hands come together, interlacing the fingers. Turn the palms away. Just allow the wrists to have a little bit of time to kind of get used to the idea. Again, I want to relax the shoulders down, so rather than being hunched forwards. And on the inhale, just slowly take the hands up. And allow the palms to point up towards the sky. I'm going to try and let the arms relax and drop back behind me a little bit. Reality is that my shoulders are a bit tight in that area. So hands above my head will do fine for me. I'm trying to get the arms relatively straight without feeling like I'm doing too much work or overburdening the shoulders. So you need to bend the elbows out for those shoulders to relax a little bit and take it back. That's fine. It doesn't have to be completely straight arms. I'll try to think of letting the shoulder blades roll away from your back rather than pressing the hand or hands towards the back of the mat. So if you can just allow the shoulders to sink themselves away from the front of your chest. Not easy to do. It's a lot of connection with that mind body. Okay, we're going to let ourselves relax on the exhale and bring the hands back down. And we're going to take ourselves into either Sphinx pose or seal pose. So seal pose is just a higher version of Sphinx pose, and allow myself to slowly unpeel the legs. They will take a bit of time to stretch out, so allow one leg at a time to stretch until they feel like the blood flow coming back. So it's going to take a good sort of 30 seconds for the legs to come back. Yeah, unless you happen to be 5 years old, in which case probably wasn't a problem at all. Probably guess I'm a bit older than that, at least physically. Bring the elbows back down. I'm actually going to let the hands just cup each other. Check that my shoulders are over the top of my elbows. I want to make sure that they're not elbows flaring out too much to the side. So walk the legs back and use the hips down to the floor. You can leave the head hanging down. I'm going to try and just wiggle the feet out a little wider so that I've got a sort of bigger foundation to work with. I want to make sure that the elbows are just a little in front or above the shoulders, but not behind. So behind, it'll push you forwards and the shoulders will move in a direction we don't really want them to go. Actually, it'll allow the body to get very soft and the buttocks and the legs, but also try to let your heart sink down to the floor. Now, I find that easier to do in my body, keeping the head up. Some people need to drop their head to be able to feel it a little bit more easily. Whatever works for you. Now, seal would be the same pose, but the hands would be flat on the floor, maybe a little wider than the shoulders. And you walk them as close in as feels comfortable. Now, I have no sense of strain or urgency in my lower back. My discs are just getting a lovely soft compression. The shoulders are working quite nicely with gravity. The chest is sinking. Now, I can move up a little higher in my body, but to be very honest, last night's class for yoga was very strong on the shoulders, and although they haven't ate today, I'm very aware that they are stiff. So I'm just allowing the shoulders to do what they want, not so worried or focused on the lower back. Although, in reality, you could work on both 50-50. I'm choosing just to do that a little differently. Wriggle around, bring your hands down by the bottom of the ribs, elbows and shoulders back, heel away from the floor. I'm actually going to move into sleeping swan. So I want to be at least a third down the mat from the front end. Up on all fours with my knees together. I'm going to take a little breath, and I'm actually going to slide the left knee as far forward as I can, but I'm going to take it through the hands rather than the knee to the outside of the wrist. So just a different version. And then allow the hands to come forward enough so that my shoulders can just be directly over the top. Now, I'm trying to get that line of pressure from the shoulders through the elbows into the wrist. Not letting the chest fall all the way to the floor, but I'm letting some weight move into the shoulders again. I'm just sort of trying to drop the heart. And I'm going to take about a minute-ish here. Kind of feeling the shoulders rolling up. And then I'm going to move further down and see if I can take the elbows out wide and bring the hands underneath the forehead and then let myself sink down. I tend to roll off towards the right side if the left leg is forward. If that didn't feel comfortable, you could take a bolster and place it underneath the right rib cage. It's starting to press the bent left knee out to the side, gradually sinking down to the floor. And then my chest and my ribs have come down. Give some space with the knee out to the side. It just slid along the ground nicely. I'm going to carefully lift up. Elbows come underneath. Feel myself away from the ground. Bring myself onto all fours again. I'm going to stretch the left leg out behind me and then come onto all fours. Knees together on the center line. I'm going to slide the right knee forward slowly as far as I can. Walk the back foot out so I'm sitting onto my own heel. With my hands just forward enough so that I can let the body sort of sink, but on straight arms. Again, letting the shoulders get pressed towards the sky. I'm trying to get the sense of the shoulder blades peeling off of the ribs. So there's more sort of space and air underneath the shoulder blades themselves. Very loosen the belly, loosen the legs. Let's see, we'll be here for a minute. And because that shoulder joint is being stretched upwards, I'm getting quite a lot of sort of trembling down the arm. This time it's on the left side. Previous time it was on the right side. But if it was getting a little bit shaky and trembly, a little bit of the wobble, don't worry. And then we'll come down into the elbows. Start to take them out wide. Or he comes down, slide very gently, like a slow motion movie, out towards the left. And then moves the other out to the right by itself. And eventually I'm flat on the ground. So a very gentle landing. And then we'll lift the head, bring the hands more alongside. We'll lift my way up carefully. Allow myself to come back onto all fours. Rearrange myself on the mat a little bit. And then I'm going to come into melting hearts. Again, I want to take advantage of the length of the mat. So I'm walking the feet off, in my case, the end of the mat. I want the hips to be directly over the knees and a good hip distance apart. Taking the hands a little wider than the shoulders. Melting heart pose. Taking it into the yin version. I'm going to ease my way in gently. I'm going to hold the head high to just allow the chest to sink down. I'm going to let the chest sink all the way to the ground, or as low as it goes. Chin or forehead to the floor. Again, feeling those armpits opening out. Feeling the shoulders moving around. I do find that the forehead provides me with sort of greater level of softness in the pose rather than the chin. Although I can go chin down, I find it pulls in the neck a little bit too much. So I'd rather come down, forehead on the ground, forearms on the ground. Shoulders relaxing and sinking. Off in the belly. As I come out of this, I'm actually going to walk the hands towards me, staying low, and just letting myself come into child's pose for a moment. And the head up, coming up. Just walk the knees forward a little bit more so that I can sit on the heels. I'm going to take the block behind the feet, and I'm going to come into squat. So hands come forward, toes tuck under, knees lift away, bring the heels onto the corner edges of the mat. Now again, different people's legs, knees, ankles, hips, even their back, they'll be slightly different shapes. So I'm just sitting here with my arms resting on top of my knees. I've got a slightly rounded back because I've got a very long spine, so it would round down perhaps more naturally in this. But I find it very natural for my knees to gate out towards the side and have my feet turned out more or less to the same degree as my knees are moving out to the side. Some people will find it better with their feet pointed forwards and on their knees. And some people might take it a lot wider. That's perfectly okay. Some people might not feel very happy sitting in the squat for a period of time. It can be very strong on the knees and the ankles. And also you've got this sort of sense of balance where if you are tight, your body kind of feels like it's a highly strung coil that's about to release. And so therefore, just leaning forward a little bit and having the hands on the ground, giving yourself that little bit of reassurance that you're not going to spring back all of a sudden like a jack in the box. Might be a good idea. Again, choice to letting the head hang. You could take that round idea of the spine a lot further and deeper if you wanted to. I tend to have to keep my head lifted so I can look at the clock. In terms of preparing for lifting out of this, my idea would be to come onto all fours, move the block out of the way, and then lift yourself up from the ground. Other option might be to bring the hands onto the floor, do a forward standing bend, just lift the heels off the blocks. If you can, and you're able to and happy to, you can just lift up slowly. Let yourself untangle the legs. For some, that will be incredibly easy. For some, that'll be something out of a superhero's movie to be able to do that with their knees and their ankles. So we'll stretch it out. We're going to do some standing work, a couple of sort of warrior twos, reverse warriors, etc. We'll take a breath from here towards the front of the mat, hands in towards the heart. Feet are parallel and a good hip distance apart. And take a breath, hinge at the hips, soften the knees, back stays flat, ribs and thighs come in, fingertips on the floor, and eventually let the head hang. I'm going to take a little breath and send the right foot to the back of the mat into a lunge, taking that the front knee stays over the ankle. And I'll drop the heel onto the center line. That back foot is 45 degrees-ish. I'll bring the hands onto the front side and lift up into my warrior two. So as soon as I turn the chest and that feels settled, I'll let the arms come out. The hands are in line with the chest, so the shoulders are relaxed. The elbows for most of us will be a little lower. There's a little bit of a gate in the arms rather than stretching out to strong, powerful arms. I'm kind of going for a little bit of floppy this evening since it's so hot. And take a breath from there. Allow myself to extend out over the front thigh and bring the forearm gently onto that front leg. I'm going to swoop the rear hand around behind me and see if I can bring the fingertips at least onto that front thigh. I'm going to lift on the exhale back into my warrior two. And palm on the front hand. I'm going to ease that hand up, drop the rear hand down, take a breath, lift the top arm up and over towards the back of the mat. And walk the bottom hand down towards the shin. I'm going to try and keep the front knee where it was. These are never going to be the deepest warrior twos. We haven't stretched the legs out, worn the hamstrings up at all, or the groins particularly for doing this. So we're going to take it nice and easy. We'll come back into our warrior two. We're going to take a little breath. Then hands gently above the shoulders. Going to slowly rotate the hips, lift the heel, so spinning on the back foot and coming into high crescent pose. And take a few breaths here as well. And then bring the hands down to the floor. Step gently into that forward bend. Taking a breath in position and then letting myself fold on the exhale a little deeper. Using the hands onto the hips, soft knees in a flat back, shoulders draw back, lift up. Following the breath, bring hands into the heart. Inhale. Soften the knees, fold at the hips. And then let the spine sink, head drop, take a breath. Left leg goes back into the lunge. Drop the heel in. We'll bring the hands again onto that front thigh. Lift it open. And lengthen out over the front leg. Forearm comes down, just rest gently. Top arm rotates around. See if I can bring the fingertips onto that front thigh. And we'll bring ourselves back into Warrior Two. Right hand comes high. Rear hand drops. Inhale and up and over. Walking the back hand down. If we're coming back, Warrior Two. And hands come high, palms face in. Slowly rotate towards the front of the mat, lifting the heel and hold. I'm going to bring the hands down to the floor and step back into down dog. Carefully draw the left knee in towards the body and bring the foot through between the hands. Easing the back knee down to the floor and untucking the toes. Sweep the hands alongside the body. Rest your ribs against your thighs at that point. Lifting the arms out until they're more or less in line with your body. Press the tailbone down as you draw the belly in. Allow yourself to lift. Squeeze your shoulder blades together. So your arms naturally draw out to the sides a little bit more. And then we'll bring the hands back down. Step back into our down dog. And carefully draw the right leg in. Bringing the foot through. Easing the back knee down, untucking the toes. Fingertips. So we take a little bit more weight into the front leg. Hands alongside the body. Resting the leg, thigh towards each other, press into the back, pin the tailbone down. A slow lift to come back up. We're looking for a vertical through the body. And then squeezing the shoulder blades lightly together. The arms widening out to the side. Belly's drawn in. Still pressing into that back skin, pressing into the big toe on the front foot. And then easing the hands back down to the floor. Step back into down dog for the final time. And ease the knees to the floor. Send the feet out to the side, whichever way you like. The bum comes to the ground. I'm going to take the block again underneath me. So just sitting back. Nice and tall. Legs out in front. With a shape. I'm going to take the left foot out to the right hip. So the left knee is pointing forwards, the same direction as my hip. Bring the right leg across as close into the body as I can, foot flat to the floor and knee high if possible. Both sitting bones on the ground. Tilt the pelvis forwards a little bit. You feel your chest extend up towards the sky. And take the left arm up and over towards the right side. So I'm counterlevering the arm and the leg. And take the fingers of the right hand onto the side edge of the mat rather than behind. And let the body rotate around the spine. And then I'm releasing from there. I'll tangle the legs and build it all back up again, just the opposite way around. And when you're ready, take the right arm up and over. Roll the fingertips out to the side edge of the mat. Keeping the chest open, free. And then I release from there as well. Now roll very gently off the block. Take that towards the back of the mat. Knees high, hands behind. Peel the spine down to the floor. You're going to come into happy baby. So I want to make sure the spine is nice and long. And avoid having the block press into your neck or your shoulders. Just underneath your head is fine. Let the knees come in towards me and let them go wide. Take the hands onto the shins and then down to the ankles for an easy hold. We're not stretching, the arms are straight, just taking it to where it goes to, and then keeping the hands where they are. I'm going to see if I can lift feet directly above the knees. The idea is that I want to keep those shoulders and particularly my back soft and relaxed. Each arm flex. Working with gravity again, just to open up the body. Now, if it's incredibly easy for you to take hold of the little toe side of the foot, you can do. But be very honest about that. If that lifts your tailbone off of the ground, if you feel your middle lower back jamming into the floor, if you can no longer feel substance of weight in the tailbone against the ground, and you have simply overstretched and overworked, this is restorative. And we want it to be. Now, the grip will last us a minute to two. Okay, from here, just to hold on to the ankles, but let the feet drop in towards the groin. And then allow the feet to come to the floor very gently with control. Use your tails to wiggle your legs and your feet away towards the corner edges of the front of the mat. Slide the heels for the last little bit. We want to keep the feet in contact with the ground, so we're not activating the back muscles in a sort of a traumatic way. I'll bring the hands out to the side of the body, palms facing up, and the eyes closed. Licking the lips, and then we'll just let ourselves melt or float. If yield works as a word for you, you can try and be completely still, ignoring the insistent mutterings of our mind to scratch itches or use something else just to keep yourself busy, or letting the mind go a little bit. To come out of this, we're going to slowly stretch the fingers and toes and breathe a little deeper, even the eyes closed. And then allow the wrists and the ankles to begin to move as we connect the mind and the body back up again. And if you're ready, allow yourself to stretch in any direction that feels good. Whatever feels right is the thing to do. And then, if you haven't already, we'll slide one leg along the ground towards us, and the other. Allow the knees to come in towards the body one leg at a time as we take the hands gently around the shins. And this is a very gentle, soft hug. So we're not pulling ourselves into a little ball. There's no tightness. There's no urgency in the breath. This is all very soft. Now follow the breath on the exhale over towards the right side. Let the knees and the feet gently come down. Then turn your chest over. Your hands underneath. Easy to lift then. Very little effort in the breath back up, sitting. An easy posture for you, whatever that is. A couple of breaths. Let the heart fill. And then we'll bring the hands in towards the heart. We'll close the eyes this time. Take a longer breath. And just slowly exhale, letting the chin drop. And as you begin to feel the belly drawn to the spine, follow the bow to the floor, beginning your practice for the evening. We'll carefully lift up on the breath in, letting the head come up last. Eyes open. Namaste. Thank you very much joining me on this lovely summer's evening. Hope you enjoyed. See you on the mat again soon.